Saturday night White House Correspondents' dinner, of course, got postponed. The president wants to have that rescheduled within 30 days following the assassination attempt. And we are happy to welcome on and say good morning to House Majority Leader Steve Scalise on KCMO Talk Radio. Of course, the congressman is no stranger to political violence himself, going back to the congressional baseball game all those years ago in 2017 when he was shot himself. Congressman, thank you for joining us in Kansas City. Really appreciate your time. What was going through your mind on Saturday night?
Well, Pete, thanks first for having me. And, you know, there were some chaotic moments. I mean, you're getting ready. The president had just come in. They had the national anthem. It was a packed ballroom, ready for what's going to be a real entertaining night at the Correspondents' dinner. And then all of a sudden, you just hear a lot of clanking. You hear a lot of chaos. You know, you get a lot of tables, not tables, things there that are holding the drinks being knocked over. And people are running up towards the stage, I think, to protect the president. And then you hear, just that there's a shooter. And so you don't really know what's going on. Obviously, memories come back, but your instincts kick in too. And so, we all just get under the table and you just kind of saying some prayers at that moment. And, and then ultimately we got out of there, and you find out later that the shooter was, taken down by the Secret Service, who did an amazing job keeping him out of. He never got into the actual building, the room where we were in, where the president was, but he got through that magnometer area. But the second layer of protection stopped him, and his intent was to try to kill the president and another people in the administration. It's insane that you still see this happening, Pete. And, it was just another example that, there are really bad people out there that want to hurt this president. And, luckily the night ended without incident. The Secret Service agent that was shot luckily had a bulletproof vest on, and he's doing well, so we keep him in our prayers. But, we just thank God that everybody was okay that night.
When it comes to the security, you mentioned Secret Service doing a great job. I mean, you had the first three people in line, of course, to the presidency. In order of succession, you had, of course, the president, the vice president, Speaker of the House. I don't know if President Pro Tem of the Senate, Chuck Grassley, was there, but he's number 3, I believe, on the list. So given the level of individuals who were at this event on Saturday night, in hindsight, do you think the security was where it needed to be? Or if this does get rescheduled in the next 30 days, does it look very much different?
Well, clearly there are going to be assessments done by the Secret Service, by Congress. We're going to be looking into this as well. And, it doesn't matter who the president's party is. Any president needs the right level of protection. And, all Americans deserve to be safe. But you've seen this president now, a third assassination attempt, and they're just people that are mentally unstable that want to go do this president harm. And obviously, I think we also need to look at the rhetoric. And, I don't think any president has had more hypercharged words used against him on a regular, daily basis. It's like the left feels like they need to say more incendiary things every single day about Donald Trump. And it was Nazi and Hitler references, and it's, threat to democracy. And every day it's something more hypercharged. And all it takes is one unstable person to try to go do something. And in the case of Donald Trump, he's had 3 people try now to assassinate him. And this man's amazing. President Trump just never relents. I mean, he wanted to come back out to the White House Correspondents' dinners. They didn't feel Secret Service that they could secure the place in time, and so he ended up holding a press conference at the White House. And yet another example why we need a ballroom at the White House to hold big events like this. You can have it more secure, and obviously if they do it again, and President Trump's vowed to reschedule in the next 30 days, I'm sure they might even be considering a different venue.
Steve Scalise is here, House Majority Leader on KCMO in Kansas City. I want to get your response, Congressman, to Hakeem Jeffries in the House Minority Leader, he posted on X last night, America will not be lectured about civility by far-right extremists in Congress, particularly those who provide aid and comfort to hundreds of violent rioters who brutally beat police officers on January 6th. There will be ample time to vigorously debate the issues of the day. Now is a time to unify. How would you respond to Congressman Jeffries?
Well, you see that kind of gaslighting, and then you end by saying now's the time to unify after gaslighting the President of the United States on the heels of his third assassination attempt because of that kind of language. The people on the left that are saying these hypercharged things need to look in the mirror. There was a Democrat from the Northwest, Perez, who tweeted yesterday, hey, can we all just say people need to stop trying to kill the president? Why can't he just say that? Why cannot Hakeem Jeffries just say something as basic as that instead of gaslighting a whole lot of other things that are nonsensical? And frankly, the comments you're seeing from the far left on a daily basis, that drumbeat is inciting people. You've seen shooters who tried to kill Trump that are using the left's own language, the leaders on the Democrat Party's own language when they write documents about why they wanted to go kill the president. So again, it's not normal people that do this. It's unhinged people. But if you know that, then shouldn't you also change your rhetoric?
Steve Scalise, you've been in Congress now for almost 20 years. I'm sure it doesn't feel like that. But how much have you seen the threat level increase against yourself and fellow members? And obviously, we all know what you've been through at the congressional baseball game. But what has that been like when it comes to the increase over the last 20 years? And is it driven by divisive politics? Is it also driven by social media? Like, what's the increase been like? And what do you know the drivers of that being?
Well, I think it's a race to the bottom that's driving it, and it's definitely increased. And these are pendulums. Look, you can go back to the 1800s, when Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. They would have duels in Congress. They would have fights on the House floor. I sure don't want us to go back to those days. But, you've had times where it was worse, and then you had times where it got more civil, and the pendulum swings. And we're at one of those points where the pendulum's swinging far to the extreme of, this language that is inciting violence. And I think some of it is how people interact. And look, the First Amendment, we were there to celebrate the First Amendment, which we need to, by the way. Our right and ability to disagree, it's one of the things that makes our country great, is that we disagree, but we settle our differences at the ballot box. You don't settle it with violence. And if you're trying to incite violence with your language, you can just go back to Supreme Court cases. You can't yell fire in a movie theater. There's certain things where it crosses the line. And I think some people get on social media and want to say things that are so outrageous because they're just trying to get attention. They're trying to be a circus clown, basically, and not spur debate and provoke thought or bring people. How about this? Isn't persuasion about bringing people to your side? If my argument's better than yours, let's go debate it in the public square. But if you have to insult people's integrity and threaten people personally, you probably lost the argument. And I think that says a lot about how some people just degrade and go into a race to the bottom at that point. And, social media is the place they do it now. There were other ways they did it in the 1800s. So it's not like it's just social media's fault, but it's how some people allow themselves to be drugged down because they've lost a debate and they want to go after somebody personally. That needs to end.
In the final minute, Steve Scalise, how do Republicans over the next few months hang on to the House of Representatives, and what is that strategy going to look like?
Well, it's number one, continuing to fight for the hardworking people of this country that need somebody to go get this country turned around. They don't believe in hatred every day, and they won't wake up saying, we just want to oppose Donald Trump. We actually want to get the country back together. You look at Mark Alford, your great congressman. Mark's just a happy warrior. He wants to go and get things back on track, but he's also willing to go talk about it in a positive way. He doesn't trash people. He talks about what we're doing to make this country great. We're celebrating our 250th birthday. We've got the King of England in D.C. today and speaking to a joint session of Congress tomorrow. Think how remarkable that was. 250 years ago, we declared our independence from England. His relative, King's relative, and here he is coming to celebrate this great democracy that we enjoy. But it's up to us to keep it going forward and to just build on the greatness and that striving that we always had, that Thomas Jefferson wrote about, to strive to make this a more perfect union. We're not perfect, but we absolutely are the best democracy known to the history of man. God created us, gave us these rights. Let's not blow it.
Well said. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise on KCMO. Steve, thank you so much. We appreciate it, Congressman, and we would love to have you back on in Kansas City again soon. Thanks so much for your time.
Well, thank you for having me back, Pete. God bless all of you in Kansas City.
Absolutely. Steve Scalise on KCMO. Great to have him on the show. 913-408-7957. All right, next. He mentioned Mark Alford, and we appreciate the congressman helping facilitate Steve Scalise on the show. But what about other members of Congress? What have they said in the wake of Saturday night? Hello? Emmanuel Cleaver, anybody home? Anyone?
You mustard moo.
All right. How about Sharice Davids? Hello, Sharice? No? Okay. Not much going on there either. All right. Well, we'll tell you exactly what they've had to say next here on KCMO.